さあ LJL2020 サマースプリットウィーク5まもなく次の試合
All right, continuing on with Week 5. We have CGA taking on Hawks Gaming. CGA returning to bat hot off of a win over V3 Esports. It's still sinking in over here exactly what that means, that the Titan has fallen from greatness, fallen down, and not exactly like this is an unbecoming loss by any means. CGA have definitely been proving themselves throughout this entire split, but V3 were the last summer split team in multiple regions that was holding the mantle of undefeated as they fall now. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and so too must V3's perfect record, but finishing this week 9-1 is not a bad setup by any means. CGA would be quite happy with a 2-0 week coming out of this one today. They have one more game to play to hopefully be able to nab up a win, as they're going to be taking on the likes of Hawks Gaming. We have two more games left to play. Now, one thing that I do immediately want to call out and that I do really enjoy is that in that kind of a game, we saw pretty much exactly the way we talked about. It was CGA were like, alright, Aria's our carry and Boogie's yours, let's see who does it better. And it's a little bit harder to carry from the jungle position, so with Ace on the Jace did not exactly impress, and I really think that's kind of what helped open that game up for CGA, is that Ace is not exactly as experienced in a carry position, or at least one that needs to get ahead early. It was actually a little bit interesting to lock in the Jace blind. You did see the LeBlanc already, but then you didn't want to, like, you know, rough up your matchup in the top side of it was just overall a little bit of a weird pick up to not opt into a more traditional mid laner. That being said, they sort of reaped what they sowed in that regards alongside the early Callista pickup, but all of those thoughts will have to be held as CGA coming off of a win in a format, or at least a portfolio, that looks pretty good for them going forward. That was an early game comp that even when pushed to the later, they did have a little bit more scaling assurance, so they still played it a very CGA way, but they'd weathered the early storm, they played it out, they were even ahead for most of the early game. So I love to see that kind of thing coming out from CGA. An effective draft, got the job done, played it into the late game, and piloted them to success. So CGA proven themselves already today, while Hawks Gaming are going to be first up to bat, or this is their first game up to bat. And this is a little bit of a hard ask for Hawks Gaming, and sort of the benefit that I think has kind of been on Hawks Gaming's side here in the past couple weeks is that Hawks have kind of found their stride in playing a couple different comps than we were typically seeing from them. Early on in the split, they spent a lot of time and dedication into, we're going to throw Dasher on Aurelia, we're going to throw Aramik on his Wukong, we're going to dive, and we're going to try to knock people down. And it worked to somewhat varying success. It wasn't the greatest, but then a couple of their other wins were picked up in more traditional team fight kind of oriented Hawks Gaming. And while there are still points in their draft that are exploitable, even Rascal Jester came up with an exploit in his own right. I think that Hawks Gaming still has potential to be in playoff contention. They really need to start finding their identity, though, and it's been a little bit difficult for them so far. And I don't think it's impossible to make the dive style work. I actually think that dive comps are severely underrated right now in the meta, at least among the LJL. The problem is that it's very hard to have the confidence to send on a dive comp and to say, this is our comp, this is what we're doing, and you need to have the confidence to pull the trigger, which unfortunately Hawks Gaming has kind of suffered from. And especially when you're behind and you're negative in the standing, it gets harder and harder to want to pull that trigger, to like send it and say with authority that we're making this engage work. And in the 2 off weeks that they've been able to kind of have, I'm really curious to see what Hawks Gaming have had in the works. We've kind of seen every other team come back fairly prepared from the off weeks. Sengoku kind of feeling like the team that might have been lacking a bit of polish coming out of these off weeks. That being said, Hawks Gaming, it's your first game up to bat. You've been waiting all day for this one. It's time to show us what you got. And Hawks Gaming not unfamiliar to laying it all down on the line, so we'll see how Hawks Gaming end up coming up for this kind of a game. And I do want to speak lightly on the note of CGA in this series, where the only criticism I was really having of CGA, the 2 main criticisms were an uncharacteristic loss to Burning Court, which is somewhat in character for their team, but not exactly in character for their standings. And that will remain to be remedied still. But one thing that you could have looked at CGA and said in the past was that they're a team that was reliant on Aphelios, and they really made Aphelios work well, but they you could have argued that they needed Aphelios, and I think this game is a great one to kind of shut that criticism down, where they played their comp as effectively as possible. Jin slowly creeping into the LJL meta, but it wasn't even really that. Arya was just able to put on a show throughout that one, and when you have a mid laner that can attract so many bans purely by virtue of he's the big bad mid laner that's rolling over games, how are you ever going to ban this guy out? You can't. If you ban his Silas, he goes LeBlanc. You ban that, he goes to Kassadin, and he has just all of these carry champions under his belt. That playing into him is just such a scary prospect when you're doing picks and bans. And then with Gango just being a proficient AD carry and able to play Aphelios as effectively as he is, your ban table is going to be spread thin when you're looking at the members of, when you're looking at your picks bans versus CGA. Hopefully going forward in the coming weeks, CGA will kind of be able to utilize those early, or utilize that draft flexibility to hopefully find some more draft wins against some of the other teams. I think in large part what that last game was, if you're going to, and I might do an extended piece on this later, but I think a lot of what that game ended up being was the LJL V3 came forward and they wanted to do a specific idea, and they logged in the Callista off of the blind pick. And I think that's where they fell apart. They easily could have locked in something that's a little bit easier blindable, like a Thresh, and left options open to them while also not showing their hand as early on as they need to. But once they did, it was so easy for the members of CGA to say, okay, we know what their comp is. It's an early game focused comp. We're going to immediately draft into Set to deter any dive threats, and we're going to draft into an Ashe to help neutralize the Callista. Or excuse me, not into an Ashe. It was It was set what? Set Graves, excuse me. And Graves to deter their advances. Apologies, blank there for a moment, but like that being said, if they're going to show their hands, CGA are not going to just let them get away with that for free. And Hawks Gaming is kind of a team that they don't care if they show their hands. They're going to play the style that they want to. Will remain to see. It will remain to be seen if CGA are willing to let them have the comp that they want, or if they're going to try and stick to a little bit of wins in the draft here, as Aphelios, Twisted Fate, and Lee Sin all going to be hitting the table. Tussle actually had a number of good kicks in the past couple weeks on the Lee Sin, so an understandable ban there, while Zoe is also going to be banned away. And the B1 bear from CGA. I was so hoping we weren't going to see it. There's a little bit of a perception that the bear is broken in the LJL, although it's not exactly had the most impeccable win rate so far for today, but Hawks Gaming looking at a response. Trundle here, not a bad pickup. Makes it a little bit harder for Trundle, or for the bear, to get in and do his job. Well, Karma also made it through the ban table, so Hawks Gaming happy to be picking that one up. I'm surprised that CGA actually passed over the Karma in favor of the bear, and I'm hoping that it works better for CGA than it did for Hawks Gaming, as the bear's not exactly found the most amount of value, but Ash Bard, the classic of today, is this is going to be the Ash Bards, I believe, 5th game? Don't quote me on that, but showing up once again, and Hawks Gaming gonna be locking in the Jin, as Jin has been showing up quite a bit in the LJL. Haven't seen him nearly as much in many other regions. And I was a little bit worried. I believe it was V3 versus Hawks Gaming, where that was the first Jin we saw of the summer split, and it got a little bit bopped after an unfortunate early play that ended up being like an 8-minute ace from the side of A3 Esports. All of that being said, CGA banning away the Wukong here from Armik in the top lane, a champion he loves dearly. While LeBlanc is going to be taken away from Arya, and understandably so. Scalio is going to be the last champion banned away here. Now CGA, you can send it on something like a Sylas in the mid lane if you want to give that over to Arya and use the Ashe as a little bit more supportive for this sort of all-in brawl comp. So Hawks Gaming logging in the Nautilus here. Not a bad pickup. I don't mind Jin Nautilus as a lane. I think it does a great job. That being said, I would have liked to have possibly seen something a little bit more defensive coming out from Hawks Gaming, as you pretty much know that this Sylas is coming, and there is a Sejuani as well. So it will be the top lane bear, and knowing that, are you willing to pivot the Karma up to the top side in favor of an Azir? Yes, we are! As Hawks Gaming are going to be picking that one up there. You're going to have that wall to hopefully try and batter away the likes of a Sylas and a Sejuani trying to run in on them. It is occurring to me that I might not be able to make it through this game. I'll be honest, I am feeling my throat, and I know there's 8 more games for tomorrow. I'm going to hold it together as best I can, but if I die, tell V3 I love them. Tell Boogie I love him. Lord knows I love Boogie. All of that being said, I really am kind of liking the comp that Hawks Gaming has here. They have a couple defensive tools that work really well. You can use a Trundle defensively. If you need to use the... You can use the Karma move speed to back away, or the Mantra Q to zone, as well as the Azir Wall as a little bit of a last line of defense. I would have honestly really liked if Pooh were to draft himself into something like a Braum here, or just something a little bit more defense-oriented that isn't this hard engage like Nautilus, who's going to put himself right in the loving arms of whoever he hooks. Even a Blitzcrank might not have been bad, although Blitzcrank kind of suffers from the same issues of you have like maybe 2 targets that are worth hooking, and the rest of them are really, really bad. That being said, Nautilus does kind of offer a little bit in the catch department. If Jin lands a W, can easily throw a depth charge onto him, dredge line, and then knock up, keep him locked up long enough for the rest of the team to get there. So he does offer a little bit of benefit in that regard, but as it stands right now, CGA are going to be the ones coming into use, so personally would have liked to see a more defensive support pickup, but it's not a miserable pick by any means. Sort of the riskiest part about it is that you are giving Silas an ultimate with that Nautilus that can be used very effectively to kind of disrupt the lines of Hawks Gaming. Although Arya doesn't exactly have the best ultimates to really be stealing this game, which is somewhat to the benefit. He can steal the Mantra, and I believe you do get the Mantra ability of Q, W, or E of Karma. So you can use that E to try and run in just a little bit faster, and that can be a little bit of a scary prospect. You can also pull off a little bit of a pseudo Shurima shuffle if you're able to land the abscond if you land the abscond onto a target, you take the Azir ulti, you can flash R and try to knock them back into your team. A little bit of a cute play that, if we see it, I would be a prophet, but as we look at the stat screen here, Crest Gaming coming out a little bit ahead in the stat department. The DPM showing up firm in this game, but for not being a very early game focused team, CGA has a surprising first blood percent. But the goal differential on both of these teams is not exactly the best by 15.
ちょっと取り切れてないところが出ていますが、あと DPM という点でも非常に低いですよね。1位の CGA が1988、これまあかなり高い部類なんですよ。に対して1566ですから、本当にゆっくりと丁寧に戦っていく SHG に対して激しく衝突戦をどんどん繰り返していく CGA と。
We'll wait for the match to get started up here. I am just unfortunately going to kind of stay quiet for now. I'm going to try to preserve as much of my voice as possible because we are cresting into the 8th hour of straight games that I am solo casting.
まあ狙い通りに進まないだとかといったところがありますから、とりあえずは自分たちのプランを、まあ、この場合だとレイトゲームまで行くといったところをしっかりと実行するためにも、まずドラゴンのコントロールを抑えていく。一つでも抑えればそれだけで5分伸びますから。
One thing that I do think is worth talking about while we have everything lined up here is Hawks Gaming as a playoff team, and this is sort of the point that I really want to start talking about. A lot of the lower end teams is who I expect to be seeing to make playoff runs, and honestly from today I was very impressed with Burning Core. I feel like they came back from the two week span very strong, and I'm hoping to see the same from Hawks Gaming if they want to keep their playoff chances alive. But as it stands right now, Rascal Jester, Axes, I don't think Axes can make playoffs anymore. I think they would need to win literally every game until the playoffs, and I think they can tie and maybe get there. it's a crazy dream, but I don't think Axis is going to make it happen. Good stuff to you today for getting your first win, but it's not exactly something that I'm looking at as anytime soon. I'm not holding my breath on their account. That being said, I think Rascal Jester kind of... I hate to pin it on any one particular player, because I do think that in general, Rascal Jester as a unit needs to figure out like how to play around at their weaknesses. That's a team effort. But as it stands, Pink has just not had enough performances that impress for me to really be looking at them as a team that I would be like, yes, I am not only proud of this team, but Pink in general just kind of has had struggles with so many of the picks that would put him in a position of duty, where he would actually have a job like Corki or even Katarina. They just did not pan out for him, and he was never able to get anything done. Which is funny, because I would have liked to have seen Rascal Jester kind of all in on a comp of, like, dive when you have this Katarina one-trick, effectively, and you give him the Katarina. Why not pick the comp to support him? But that aside, I don't think Rascal Jester are going to be making a playoff run anytime soon, and I think dropping the games that they did today really hurts their chances as well.
LJL 2020サマースプリットウィーク5ゲーム7クレストゲーミングアクト VS 福岡ソフトバンクホークスゲーミングの試合スタートです。
The last closing point I was going to make before we were cut off a little bit by the intro, Gengo's going to get a number of autos here. The Q is not going to land, so no slow there. Will force the flash out. Will Gengo go for the flash volley? He doubled back, and I think now he's just looking to harass Honey, seeing if he's running all the way under turret to take a safe back. But what I was going to just kind of lightly touch on is that I think of all of the lower end teams, save for Burning Core, because I do think Burning Core had a great performance coming forward, Hawks Gaming has potential to make a playoff dream happen. I think Burning Core look very, very strong, and Hawks Gaming are going to need to try and keep pace with them if they want to pull this one out. But with DFM kind of in a bit of a state, as well as moving to an online format that they don't exactly benefit from, all I'm saying is that it could happen for Hawks Gaming, and you would love to see them make that kind of a playoff run. Of course, I do still have CGA as the favorites, and so does the majority here, but such is life for side of CGA, as Pooh's going to be losing out on a bit of his HP there. Good stun from Grendel ends up netting them a positive trade in the end there. Funny that the AI picks are usually are somewhat geared towards Hawks Gaming winning this. Not a whole lot of data on Sejuani necessarily. She did receive buffs on this patch. I believe it was like a little bit of extra damage on the E, and your ability to stun a target with E resets a little bit faster, which isn't a bad buff. It is not a bad buff. That is not what I'm trying to say. And furthermore, when you have comps like Arya and or we have a Volibear and a Sylas with you, it's a lot easier to stack up your Frost passives to make sure you can get an extra stun in some of these team fights. That being said, it's not the most impactful buff to Sejuani, but if it's making her be looked at a little bit, it's not exactly a bad deal. Sometimes it just takes one of those sort of placebo buffs to really bring a character back into the spotlight and let her shine. Gengo's going to get a little bit of a shove here, trying to see if he can land as much damage as he can. About half HP, but no real reason to back just yet while we're enjoying a little while of a lull state, and This is one of those games that could definitely be going late if CGA don't get an early ball rolling over on the side of Hawks Gaming, and they're looking to do just that as slows are on to Honey. He's got to flash forward to get the W. Slow, one more auto ought to do it, but the Bard Q is going to be the one that sinks that first blood in favor of CGA. Grendel picking that one up for himself. Meanwhile, on the top side, Nap feeling all the fun and interactivity of being mercilessly auto-attacked by a Karma who is walking a bear on a leash, while Tussle enjoys his time to steal away a Grump on the blue side of CGA here in exchange for his bot laner's life. No cleanse, no flash. Honey still a potential target as he is going to go for a Cole here just to try and make the farm out on the lane. This is one of those games that could easily start getting away from Hawks Gaming if CGA are continuing to make these kinds of catches and plays happen across the map, but right now it looks like Nap's going to be the one in a little bit of trouble here. He can't even necessarily walk up for those creeps as Aramic is still full HP. Grendel's going to be wandering around here to clear out that ward. Will we see a repeat performance here? This time featuring a magical voyage, and there's no summoner spells on Honey once again, but not quite going to be able to finish that one off. No volley means no real kill opportunity, but locking him up under turret means Gengo's going to lose a lot of extra HP. They can't chase too hard here as Unica's W is going to land a slow to keep Gengo safe. Burning a lot of summoners, though, with a good found hook from Pooh there, throwing down the ignite as well. Unica is waiting around here. I don't know if Hawks Gaming knows he's still in the bush. Do know now is the bouncing grenade's gonna find his way over to him and is realistically just kind of hovering to keep his bot lane safe from any potential dives. Just the knowledge of Unica being there is enough. Well, Grendel's going to walk up, face check a troll. The W is going to land. He might just go down here. No, Pooh's flash. It's a little bit too late. Not going to be able to find the dredge line onto Grendel as he's going to make a daring escape. But hopefully for the side of Hawks Gaming, that is enough pressure to grab up this early Infernal Drake. But Unica's looking around here. He knows that Tussle's going to want this one. He's not willing to let it go so easily. He fortunately has respawning Krugs, so he has a reason to be on this side of the map, but he opts to go clear his blue side in the absence of Tussle. Sort of the exact scenario that both of these junglers are trying to set up. You want to make sure that your camps are set up on the side of the map that the objective is, so that you can be in close proximity without losing too much in the farm race against the enemy jungler. Meanwhile, in the bot lane of things, more lane clearing and farming will ensue as Honey does have his summoners back now, so he's a little bit less susceptible to being ganked, but Tussle thinking about starting this one up. Unica has level 6, so going for a play here onto the mid lane. I don't know if that canceled Dasher's E, but the ultimate will be cast down. It will be enough to batter away the engage there from CGA, but now they're looking at this dragon. Going to be going down before they have an opportunity to get there. Good dodge on the dredge line there as Pooh might have just sealed his own fate here. Here comes two teleports right on top of each other. Armix is going to be the first one showing here. Mantra E to get them out to safety. Nap has a stun opportunity onto Tussle. Will he be going down? He will. Unica's going to find that kill as Gango's doing his best to slow Dasher. He holds the ultimate just long enough that he's able to find the kill even after Dasher's flash. And that is a great way to operate that fight from Gango. You just have so much slows onto Dasher that he feels pressure to flash, and that whole time you've been holding your Crystal Arrow for exactly that moment. Beautiful stuff over to CGA. You lose the Drake, but pick up a couple kills for your troubles as CGA, kind of the name of the game is the same as last one. Is you want an objective? Fine, but it's going to cost you. And this was sort of Pooh kind of lingering around just a little bit too long. And this whole time, Gango is just alone with both carries on the other side. Grendel eventually shows up to join him. The ultimate goes down, and that's a great just walk it out with Gango as he follows them all the way through. 1.5K gold lead over to CGA. They have potential to really be making this one work for them on the early parts of this game. You do have a decent amount of scaling, as Arya does scale very well in the late game. Nap, not quite so much on the Volibear. But then again, so does Hawks Gaming, so any early advantages means you'll be online just one beat faster. Definitely can be a difference maker in this kind of a game, and I do like little auto Q there from Gango. Gets a nice little auto onto Honey there. He has Crystal Arrow, so and no cleanse on Honey means he should be a little bit careful about how far he's wandering up there. Between Crystal Arrow and Tempered Fate, that is a lot of time to spend doing not a whole lot.
クレストゲーミングアクトが勝つんじゃないかと予想しています。
判断が早すぎないですか？
そうですね。まだ10分少し過ぎた段階ですが。
ただやはりそのレートゲーム
As Nap is once again experiencing the fun and interactivity that is top lane versus Karma. And this is sort of the thing I do enjoy, and that I did kind of that happened to Hawks Gaming, and I'm glad to see them turning it on its head, where they locked in the Volibear top, and it got abused by a Kale from the likes of Rascal Jester. Now Hawks Gaming, they're saying, you want a Volibear top? Go for it, dude. You passed over Karma for a Volibear. We're gonna make sure that you feel exactly as useless as Volibear top lane can sometimes be. Not hard punishing Nap in the top lane, but decent amount of CS lead over onto him, plus a couple turret plates that he's been able to pick up over the course of that. Well, Unica's going to spawn up the Rift Herald here onto the bottom side. They can make a push for this turret. I don't think they'll be able to knock it all the way down. It will just net them a good chunk of turret plates and leave the turret low enough that with a little more time, CGA would be able to find their way through here. Luckily for the side of Hawks Gaming is that your mid and bot have been going dead even in the CS department, and Arbic has a decent enough CS lead that you aren't too worried about the gold differentials outside of the 4 kills that CGA have gotten. It is nice that Armic is able to kind of pick up a little extra gold and will be going for the sort of tanky Karma build as opposed to the more supportive nature, so it does kind of help poise in the front line. It will really just kind of come down to a matter of will Hawks Gaming get to the point, or will Hawks Gaming be able to set up a fight how they want before CGA are too strong for them to do anything about it? As 4-0 already, their hands are on the driver's seat. They don't have full control just yet, but they're getting there. And a Cloud Drake, not going to do a whole lot for putting it in the driver's seat, but with both either Mountain or Ocean on the menu, that's going to be a point of order that both teams need to be looking at coming forward in this game. While Unica's going to make his time with the Drake most valuable, trying to solo that one down while his bot lane secures first turret on the bottom end of the map there. Smites that one away, and that's a good little healthy bit of gold going over to CGA as their gold lead extends to 3K, almost on the money.
狙えそうな位置。
Well, Gengo just shoves in this lane. Armic might be in a little bit of trouble here. That's a lot of members. The closer he walks to the wall, potential stun comes through. That's 2 stuns right on top of each other. And Armic will go down in the end. Not a whole lot you can do to get away from a Crystal Arrow and a Glacial Prison. And even a Tempered Fate to follow if Grendel really wanted to send it all. That's going to be Armic punished off to the side lane. CGA very proficient at punishing these side lane top laners. Which is sort of common practice in the LJL, as Nap is going to get stasised up by Grendel's own Tempered Fate. Not hitting its intended target, but that is sort of a note that there's this awkward moment where a lot of times the top laner swap to the bot lane, and at around this exact point in the game, a top laner just almost always dies. CGA is just great at kind of like picking out those targets and just being like, yep, you're going down, and not much you really have to say in the matter, but just playing a little bit too far up, not having enough vision to support a side lane split push, or at least just catching even the waves on the side lanes. Well, the rest of Hawks Gaming weren't even in a position that they could answer the all-in onto Armic there. Skango's gonna grab himself up his second turret. Little extra gold never hurt no Gango, although will be hurting the rest of Hawks Gaming, as that's gonna be Bork on that back, and I think he should have Bork and Zeal. Will be fairly close, but we'll see how things end up shaking out. Bork, now give me the Zeal. Hey, Zeal and a dagger. I was close. Well, the rest of the members of CGA are approaching up here. Marching down into the mid lane. Again, just a little bit of a lull state. The Herald will draw attention of CGA. The question is really, are Hawks Gaming comfortable contesting this? You have members rotating up in force, although they're, with the Rift Herald already about half HP, it's going to be hard to set up position for a fight and do that, but with Dashard backing up in the top lane, I don't think that's going to be of intention for Hawks Gaming here.
で、タワーはトップとボットそれぞれ1つずつファーストタワーを追いました。で、プラス CGA はセカンドタワーまで取れて、そしてヘラルドまで取れたことを考えると3つ得してますね。ヘラルド獲得までつながりましたクレストゲーミングアクト。そしてドラゴンを優先するのであれば、ドラゴンが湧くタイミングでミッドレーンでヘラルドを影響。
And for now, we'll just continue to enjoy a bit of a lull state while we wait for this Mountain Drake, but this definitely is one of those games where CGA is just going to do what CGA loves, of just kind of slowly but surely take a little bit off the top every time till they have nearly a 4.5k gold advantage. They extend that even a little bit further with that tower going down. And every time that Hawks Gaming want to take an objective, CGA are really the ones who can choose. Do we want to contest for this and take a fight? Or do we just want to let them have one Mountain Drake and continue to kind of take gold elsewhere on the map until we're strong enough that we know we can fight? With the Rift Herald spawned up in the mid lane. Should be the last of the outer turrets going down, as here comes a Tempered Fate onto Aramik. Is Grendel going to be able to find the stun there? W is good, Crystal Arrow is good. There's not a whole lot of running you get to do if you are Aramik, as Glacial Prison goes wide, but doesn't even matter. Dasher's going to flash in, or excuse me, come in here and force Unica to flash away. And all of this is before the Mountain Drake is even spawned. CGA are just cashing in. All across the map. That Rift Herald ended up getting 2 turrets in the mid lane while they set up that pick on the top side. Arya already completing his Zhonya's as well. means he's at his two pretty much core items to be a brawler now. He can kind of get in. He has enough CDR that it gets a little bit easier for him to be cycling through his spells. I will say that one of the interesting things we've noticed is that Honey on the Jhin is going the third build that we've seen so far of Jhin, where just different priorities among all of the different Jhin players. We did see full crit, we saw half crit with utility, and now we're seeing the IE first pickup coming out from Honey, while CGA grabbed themselves up a Mountain Drake. A stepping stone along the way to a Mountain Soul, and Mountain Soul, you know, while Nap on the Volibear does start to decay a bit, and that is sort of one of the downsides of Volibear, and Mountain Soul Volibear becomes very tanky, and a Mountain Soul Sejuani is impossibly tanky, as you're not only battling past the Mountain Soul shield, you're battling past, if I do recall correctly, Mountain Drake stacks with Sejuani passive. So, where Sejuani already has a passive to gain a bunch of resistance stats until she is hit, it's upped that much more by a Mountain Soul, or each Mountain Drake, and then the Soul itself provides a shield, so that number isn't even touched yet. So, I mean, that is one tanky Sejuani who is happy to own a lot of, is just eat up a ton of pressure, especially with a character like Jhin, who is a little bit known for suffering or lacking in the tank slaying department. Dasher gonna be the one who's forced to do most of that work. Unica waiting around here while Gango's going to try and siege onto this mid lane, looking for an opportunity to send it over the wall with that Arctic Assault. For now though, CGA probing around, trying to see how deep they can get their vision into the bases of Hawks Gaming. And an understandable want, because the deeper this vision, the easier it is to retreat back to this Baron objective. And look at all the fog that Tussle is going to have to face check if he wants to get anywhere near that Baron, to ensure that CGA are not just all-inning it right now. While Tussle will wander up here and clear away a couple wards. Tempered Fate's gonna come in, land his way onto Tussle. He should be stunned up if they have the opportunity. Lands a stun, but nope, not gonna proc the Arctic not Arctic Assault. Arctic Assault is her Q. Is the E just called Glacial Prison, or is it Frozen Tomb? Either way, not going to be able to proc the damage bonus that you get for auto-attacking the stunned up targets. But for both teams, that's sort of a nothing gained, nothing lost, and going even at this point is totally fine for CGA, as they're happy to just drag this game out another 10 minutes so that they can grab up the Mountain Soul and just wait for that to try and bait Hawks Gaming into anything. And while we're continuing along here, we'll just enjoy the lull state for a little while longer, and honestly, fairly thankful for that, as my voice is really starting to strain. I don't believe I will be doing the last game. I could, but knowing that there's 8 more games for tomorrow, I would rather give you guys a better show tomorrow than finishing out the show today. So we will, of course, be finishing out this game. I will be seeing this one to the end. But if CGA are merciful, it will come soon. And this Mountain Drake could be a potential sign of that. If Hawks Gaming get a little bit too aggressive for this one to try and deny CGA Soul Point, it could be a bad spot to find themselves in. Already 6k gold in the hole. As Arya is alone on this top side.
ただ
Might have an idea he's being roamed on
マリア
as.
狙いに行きましたが引いてますね。
警戒してますね。
He is going to get out in the end.
サイド側これだけ多く抱えているのに SHG のメンバーが全然見えないですから。
はい。これはおかしいぞと。
That could have been very bad for Arya as well, as that's a 300 gold shutdown that Hawks Gaming would have loved to have capitalized off of, but Arya's spider sense is a tingling. He gets out of that one, which just leaves CGA in a great position to secure this Drake, and looks like it will be uncontested from the side of Hawks Gaming.
そしてそのためのミッドレーンのプッシュはガンゴが行います。さあここでマウンテンドレイクアップ。さあすぐに始めましたクレストゲーミングアクト。ここは福岡ソフトバンクオフィスゲーミングも戦いに行くのではなくファームを優先。トップレーンサイドの視界も、この間に確保しています。
そしてもうバロンに切り替えていく形になりますね。まだ足パーム必要ですか。まあちょっと足りないようですね。
And we'll continue to try and just...
取ってますね。
I mean, realistically, the lull state is kind of here for a reason. Arya is totally fine to be just picking up a couple extra items. Every level gives him a little bit more HP as well, so... Stacking up a little extra resistance stats to make that Zanya is just that much more valuable. Not a bad deal. As a champion like Silas would greatly enjoy a Mountain Soul Shield just to make himself that much stickier in a fight. But Dasher, I do like that he's already going for the full pen build. He already opts into the Void Staff. And it's kind of funny because this is a game that you could actually see the Morello to help deal with Arya and Nap. And even to some degree Gango, but a Tempered Fate from Grendel is going to be the one that starts things off here. The stun is good from Grendel as Gango's just flashing forward. He has no fears in the world. Nap has a couple fears as he's going to be limping away from that one, but no damage even coming Gango's way. He really was just walking right alongside the members of Hawks Gaming saying, yeah, there's nowhere you can really go. The slows are enough to keep you locked up all the days that I would need it. And that might be just CGA ending this one, as that's exactly how this kind of a game goes. I mean, almost a 10,000 gold difference in the favor of CGA to finish this one out. CGA didn't even need to be in the driver's seat early, but Hawks Gaming honestly made absolutely no plays pretty much anywhere on the map. You got an Infernal Drake that traded for 1 kill, and that was the best thing you really got out of this game. A deathless run from the side of CGA for this game as they find themselves 2-0 in the week. Not a bad position to be in if you are CGA, and that's going to be 2-0. I think that will secure them second place. Yes. Yeah, as they will pull ahead of Sengoku in the standings, and they will secure their lone spot at second place. So good stuff to CGA, being able to pull this one out. I'll tell you what I'll do, chat room. I'm going to let this one go. I'm going to let it go through the break. And if when the game comes back, I have it in me to finish out this last game, I will. Because I'd like to say that I did all 8 games today. It has been an 8-hour stream. And I am really starting to reach my limits here. But I'm going to be taking one last break before we end off week 5 here. For those of you who have been sticking with me every step of the way, I really do appreciate it. We'll make it through together, and I'll need your energy for just a little while longer before we go into our last game of today. Don't go anywhere.
はい、本当に綺麗にスノーボールをしていって、試合時間もかなり早い26分。
ファーストのドレイクのファイトのところからのスノーボール完璧でした。一方で SHG としてはちょっとゲームのペースを遅らせるといったところはできなかったプー選手が釣られてしまいましたね。
そうでしたね。
あそこでグッと我慢できるようになるとやりたいことがやれるようになると思うんですが、
本当にファーストドレイクのシーンというのが、はい、かなり大きかったように見えます。ちょっとそのドラフトのところで工夫が見られただけに、
そうですね、LCK の方でもトップカルマが出てくるぐらい、トップカルマ自体の評価は非常に高いんですが、ちょっとそこでこれだけ、オブジェクトのトレード、タワーのトレードが頻繁に発生するような形になると、ちょっとそれに対してのカルマが何もできなかったですね。
よく考えたら、そうですね、福岡ソフトバンク国際ゲーミングがこの奇策というか用意してきたピックでミッドレーンの有利は取ったんですよ。実際にマッチアップでは有利だったわけじゃないですか。ただそれをグレッテル選手が結果的に返した
そうですね、
わけですよね、ロームで。
単純なミッドの 1v1 の時間というのは非常に短かったですよね、途中でもうサイドレーンタワーが破壊されましたから131が始まって、途中からもうアリア選手がファーム勝っているような状況を作り出してましたから、CGA のコントロールが本当に見事でしたね。
ちょっとクレストゲーミングワークと、明日も試合ありますけれども、かなり期待持ってそうですね。それでは勝利したクレストゲーミングワークとのガンゴ選手へのヒーローインタビューがございます。下月さん、お願いいたします。
はい、こちらクレストゲーミングアクトのガンゴ選手にお越しいただきました。お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様です。
お疲れ様でした。本日2勝を挙げてここで単独2位となりましたが、今のお気持ちいかがですか？
오늘 2승을 거둬가지고 단독 2위가 됐어요. 기분이 어떠세요?
아, 근데 뭔가 오늘 게임하기 전부터 느낌이 좋았는데 진짜 V3까지 이길 줄 몰랐어요. 너무 기분 좋아요.
네. 今日はもう試合前からすごくフィーリングが良かったんですけれども、まさか V3 にまで勝てるとは思ってませんでした。
ありがとうございます。それでは勝さんお願いいたします。
なるほど、かなり手応えを感じるということですが、どうですか、このスーパーウィークを 2-0 スタートを切った、あとはゲーム内容なども含めてその3週間分の練習の成果っていうのが自分たちは思うように出せていると思いますか？
우선 그 슈퍼위크에서 그 2승을 거뒀고, 그리고 그 3주 동안 그 연습 기간이 있었는데 그때 연습의 성과가 나왔다고 생각해요.
연습은 네, 연습 성과도 나오고 제가 개인적으로 이제 솔로 랭크도 이제 굉장히 잘 되고 있어갖고 그게 약간 상호작용으로
네.
다 잘 되고 있는 것 같아요, 전체적으로.
네. 練習の成果ももちろん出ていると思うんですけれども、僕は個人的にですね、ソロランクもすごく良かったので、こうシナジーが相互効果が出ているんじゃないかなというふうに思ってます。
なるほど。何かこう3週間の間チームとして力を入れて取り組んだ練習なんかあったりしたんでしょうか？
그렇다면 3주 동안 그 팀으로서 뭔가 주력한 그 연습 부분이 있었나요?
어떻게든 더 공격적으로 하는 방법에 대해 많이 이게 얘기를 엄청 많이 해요, 저희 팀이. 어떻게 하면
네네.
공격적으로 하냐. 네, 그런 식으로 그냥 계속 하는 것 같아요.
네. どれぐらいこうアグレッシブにやるか、こう攻撃的にプレーをするかっていうところについてチーム内ですごく話をしているので、そういう部分に力を入れました。
やはりアグレッシブにというところは一つ狙っていたんです。非常にゲーム時間が早かった、展開が早かったですから。なるほど。そしてそのガンゴ選手といえばその LCK から、LJL に戻ってきた時のそのインタビューでその CGA に自分の経験をもうたくさん提供できる自信があるよっていう話をしていたと思うんです。それがまさにこう出始めたのかなとも思うんですが、どうでしょうか？
그 강거 선수라고 하면은 SHG에 있어가지고 그리고 LJL로 돌아오셨잖아요. 그러면서 그 돌아오자마자 하신 인터뷰 내용 중에서 그 SHG에서의 경험을 그 CGA한테 제공하고 싶다, 그런 자신이 있다, 그런 얘기를 하셨는데요. 그런 효과가 나오기 시작했나라고 생각하는데 본인이 어떻게 생각하세요?
처음에는 이제 제가 배운 것대로 이제 팀한테 얘기해주고, 근데 지금은 이제 그런 얘기가 의미가 없이 팀이 다 잘해주고 있어요, 그냥.
아, 네.
네.
네, 알겠습니다. 最初はそうですね、LCK で学んだことをチームに伝えるっていうことをやっていたんですけれども、もうだんだんそういうことも意味がなくなってきまして、チームがすごくうまくやってくれるようになりました。
なるほど。こう特に今日の試合、本当にその変わったなというところを我々は見ていて感じましたが、その自分たちで、ガンゴ選手から見てチームの中でこう誰がとか何が一番変わったっていうのはあったりしますか？
저희가 봤을 때도 그 팀이 많이 변했다라는 느낌을 느꼈는데요. 그 강구 선수 입장에서는 누가 아니면은 그 뭐가 그 많이 바뀌었다고 생각하세요?
아무래도 이니시를 담당하는 이제 미드랑 온딜은 이니시가 안 되잖아요.
네.
그래서 탑 정글 서포터가 좀 약간 그런 부분을 메꿔줘야 되는데
네.
그 세 명이 그냥 지금 다 완벽하게 하고 있는 느낌.
네.
그래서 세 명 다 좋아요. 세 명 다 완벽해.
ねえねえ、
ね
ですね。まあ、そうですね。まあ、エンゲージがなかなかそのミッドと、ADC ではできませんので、そういう意味で、トップジャングルサポート、この3人が、すごく変わったのかなと思います。今完璧だと思っています。
おー、完璧だと、素晴らしい、今ね、グレンデル選手もグッとなパスをして帰ってきましたが、わかりました、ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
それでは最後に本日応援してくださった皆様に一言お願いいたします。
그러면 마지막으로 오늘 응원해주신 팬분들한테 혹시 괜찮으시면 일본어로 한마디 부탁드립니다.
はい、みんなおいっす。まあ、今日いや V3 まで勝ってめっちゃ雰囲気いいから明日まで頑張ります。応援お願いください。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとう
日本
ございます
語でありがとうございます。かなり日本語も上達されてますよね。
本当うまいですね。
上手です。あり
日
がとう
本にちょっと照れてますけどね。
ありがとうございました。クレストゲーミングアクトのガンゴ選手でした。それでは次の試合までインターバルです。
タイミング前に出るクレストゲーミングアクト。さあ怒りを伸ばしてプー、ただ狙いはハニー。クレンズすぐさま解除するが宇宙の法則タワー下届きます。ファーストブラストはクレストゲーミングアクトグレンデル。さあ体寄せてくるが抑えました福岡ソフトバンクゲーミング。さらにはプーがエンゲージを狙っていくグレンデル、これを避けている。さあ競争局でスネアを入れるがここはプーに対してのフォーカスがうまく合う。クレスゲーミングアクトが1キル獲得、さらにはテレポートから嵐を起こすもの。稲妻の王向のスタンはタッスル。さあそのタッスルが打ち取られクレスゲーミングアクト1キル、さらにはダッシャーにクリスタルアローフラッシュ先。さあダッシャー捕まえてガンゴのキル。3キル獲得はクレストゲーミングアクト。このインナータワーを守りますがグレンデルとユニさんも来ている状況。狙えそうな位置。ウェーブ到達。セールの旅路、まずは裏を取った。スローを入れてアルビクフラッシュアウト。クリスタルアローグレイシャルプリズンスタンがきっちりと噛み合ってガンゴがアルミクを打ち取っています。